Hello again, everybody. It's Harry Box of the Technical Trader at thetechtrader.com. It's Saturday, April the 8th, 2023. This is the weekend webinar. Hope you're enjoying your Easter holiday. Lots of action last week, of course, some criticals. You can see the S&P 500, which maintained after popping out across the early March high, about 407.78. We got to a nominal low high, backed off to test that, and then reversed. So Friday was a positive day by a little bit. And looking at the NASDAQ 100, same here, we had a reversal day off of a retest of the pullback breakout point there. So it might be a large 1, 2, 3, 4, and a fifth wave could ensue to take this to 1370. S&P target is 4,200, 4330. Transportation index showing less than excitable type action, meaning it has not even broken out yet or gotten above lateral price resistance or the 50-day moving average. This is going to need to get over 14.6, and we're only under 14 now. We got a lot of work to do here on the transportation to confirm. That's always a negative. In Dow theory, the transportation needs to confirm the industrials. That's not happening. Again, Dow theory is old stuff. I'm not necessarily a believer, but a lot of people do. Let's just say we got to get over 14.444 on the Dow. On the Dow transportation to make me happy, technically. The IWM similar until this gets over 180 and it's 173.70. There's always the chance of a retest of lower low. So I'm concerned that low caps and transportation stocks are not playing along with the industrials and with the tech stocks. If you'll take a look at some of the ETFs on the indices, you'll see what I mean as well. I'm looking at the underlying technical indicators, the oscillators. Well, they got to plus 180. What was the high here? 185.70, and that's the highest level we saw in 3 months, and I'm not surprised we backed off. And now we have support around between flat and minus 25. At least that's what it looks like on the chart. The percentage of stocks above their 40, which got up to about 39%, has backed down to 32 from where it was earlier at 28%. So not really indicating a full-fledged bull phase yet, but I think the next few days might tell the story. The VIX volatility index is down 1840, showing a lack of fear. We were up to almost 31 a month ago. Now we pull back to 1840, which is at the low end of the range for the last almost a year. Lowest level we reached here was in February, early 17. So we're not that far from it. And you can see going back here, this is the lowest reading, 17, since the beginning of 22. So more than 15-month low in the VIX. And look at the ETFs that we follow closely. Semiconductors, still strong. SMH, as you can see, they pulled back for 4 days. They're still holding trend lines and 50-day moving averages. Any move below 247.48 would be disconcerting. And a takeout of 264.5 would probably get us into the 280, 85, 88 range. Semiconductors look pretty good, but I can't say the same for financials, as you know, with what's going on in the banking industry. A big plunge taking us from 92.5 all the way down to 48.9. And then it bounced into the high 50s before what we think is a left-handed extended V or a cup and handle, whatever you want to call it. The bottom line is we got to take out and up through, I'd call for 59. A move above 59 would be bullish, moving to 62, 64 3/4 and more. So I'm concerned about financials. What about biotechs? Not much better. I'm concerned. And here's what I'm concerned about. When you see a bounce like that, it looks like a bear flag until and if this takes out 77.5 and then rips through 79.5, where there's a lot of resistance. This could be a bear flag. We could go lower with financials looking weak because of the banking crisis. And biotech's not exactly ripping me. This and not confirming the semiconductors, which are basically leading the market on their own, at least tech stocks are. I would look carefully at financials and biotech next week and see if there's any upside breakouts. Okay, now look at the major components. They look pretty good. Look at Apple, especially on Friday when it took a dip down to 60, finished 64.57, up 81 cents after being down 3, a nice reversal. Can that mean anything? Well, we'll find out pretty soon. If Apple manages to take out the weekly high, which was 16684, you're probably looking at 170, 176. Amazon's looking better, but it's got to break its declining top line and last week's high coming to 104, 4.5 area. That could lead to a run to 111 and 118.20. Google looks darn good too. Like at the top of the pattern of the base, the highest level since September, and a breakout here should lead to 111.5 and 117. Netflix pulled back a little bit, but still hanging tough and above the trend line. Microsoft looking very good. There's the highest close on Microsoft since August, and then near the top of the channel. So is there a problem here in terms of the resistance? Yeah, of course. We do get through here, we're looking at 312. NVIDIA, looking very strong. Here's a stock that's gone from 108 to 280 some odd, and doesn't look done yet, although there is big resistance at about 286. And finally, Tesla. Oh, wait, we want to look at Meta too. Nice chart, nice chart on Meta. Target 238 and 247. And again, finally, Tesla, hard round week, broke the 50-day and 21-day moving average. This is now in danger of coming down and testing the March pullback low at 163 range. Big support there. You break that and we go a lot lower. I think Tesla's maybe coming out of favor. I don't know. It's hard to call. So there's a look at the major components and underlying indices. Let's look at some other ETFs that matter. We showed you the SMH, the FAS, etc. But let's look at oil, USO. Big run up to resistance right there. But closing above the declining top line on that news out of Saudi Arabia and then holding there for 4 days. That's probably a bull flag. The key resistance right now is 72.25, which is the highest level reached since late November. We get through that, we may see oil come back in the high 70s, but I'm skeptical. GUSH looks different, of course, because it's a double, and it hasn't even taken out its declining top line going back to November. So I'm still skeptical until I see that take out 138.39. Let's look at gold. Look at the GDX. Now, I showed you resistance, but we blew through it. Last week was an exceptional week for gold and precious metals. The way I look at it now, your next target is 36, and then looking at 40 on GDX. NUGT, which is a double, has a target now at 51.5 and 62. JNUG's the other we watch there too. And you can see that we break out over here, which we haven't done yet. The target's in the mid to high 50s. Silver, AGQ, slightly or right at resistance here. This hasn't broken out yet. And if we don't get a breakout soon, we may pull back and retest down in that 30 range. So let's look at oil, gold, and silver, and some of the other ETFs. We have a long list of stocks to look at on the long side. I also have some boxy shorts to show you. So let's get going. Alphabetically, Accolade. Nice chart. Tried to break out and pull back, but it's in that kind of pattern that I think if it does break out, it's an $18, $20 stock. ACHV, which is a biotech stock that broke out and now it's flagging. Looks like 8, 9.5, and 11 might be targets going forward. A very strong chart. ACVA, ACV auctions. Breaks out of a base, retest, forms a wedge, breaks out, a flag that's been flagging for 5 weeks. So what I need on this one is a breakout above 13 and a quarter, and we're looking at 16. AEHR, rough week, folks, very. The angle of ascent may have changed or not. I'm going to find out. I'm thinking this is your actual angle right now. This right there. So, I mean, any further damage on AEHR, and it's likely to have a really tough time. Be careful and keep a stop under 27. AEM in the gold sector, Agnico Eagle, that's a breakout. There's resistance at 58. Get through that, your targets are 60 and 66. AGQ in the silver sector we showed you, very promising long-term base. Agilysys, long consolidation after a big run up in the channel, looks great. Got to take out 89 though, then your target 115. Well, AI got hammered, did bounce on Friday, but you better not let this go below 20. ALDX, nice little biotech stock that keeps going. It came down hard on Friday morning and then bounced sharply, closing beautifully with a big tail. Usually that means higher, target 11.5 and 13. Allegro Microsystems in the biotech, in the semiconductor sector with a large base breakout, pull back on low volume, test the moving average, run up to the channel top, has rising flag, and then pull back to test the channel. If we go, it's a $60 stock, potentially. ALVO, surge, wedge, breakaway, pop, coil, and now a larger one. If it breaks out of here, it's a $16, $17 stock, conceivably. AMAM, big pop, falling wedge, exploded, and now flag. There's one more leg up. This could be 16, 18, 20. I'm not sure why, but it looks good. AMD, little three-wave corrective pullback within a rising channel. It appears to be in a new uptrend, but it needs to hold, in my opinion, 86, 6.5. Target 102, 110. AMPX, look at this run up. Falling wedge, pop, flag. Next target 9.5 and 11. APLS broke out. We put a swing on it. It had a beautiful day Friday, but backed off. Still looking like this stock wants to be near 100. APPS, which popped a week or two ago, we put a swing on it. It's moved up to resistance here, but I'm a little concerned that this is a rising bear flag and that we have to at least retest. However, a breakout above, say, 12 and a quarter would get me excited about a move to 16. Look at this little puppy, ARDX. It's gone from 53 cents to $5. It's almost a 10-fold increase. The high was 494. My target is 6. ARLO comes out of a base, pops and forms a wedge. We showed you that a week and a half ago. It's now running up again. My target, 7.75, 8. ASAN broke out of a base and flying topside and then pulled back. And it formed a coil, but it pulled back the coil, and that would negate that pattern now. So right now it looks like a flag, but we need to hold this one, and stops would be under 18.5. Targets are 23 and 25. ASRT Assertio, beautiful little biotech drug stock, went from 2 to 7, and now it's wedging. Breakout here, we're going to 8.5 and 10. ATAT, big run up, nice consolidation and breakout, but it needs more. I need this to get up through the 27 range to retest the high near 29. And then we'll look for a move into the low 30s. AlphaTech, nice run since the July low at 6. It is almost tripled. It's going to pay 16. Now it's coiling. Your next target, 18 and 20. ALTX with a big explosive pop, coil, again. Not sure where this can go. It's very thin. Be very careful. But if it does pop, it could run. It's lithium. AU, one of the strongest gold stocks there is, at least from my thinking, has gone from 16 to 27, virtually straight up. Channel top target now, 28.5, 29. AUPH swing trade popped out and pulled back. It may be in play. But it's back to support. Can we hold it there? If we do, $13 target. BBIO, beautiful base breakout, retest, fill the gap, pop again. Now a falling wedge. If it gets to 20, which is the next target, it's 27 target. Bitcoin related BITO and Bitcoin strategies ETF broke out, and look at that little flag. If it does extend and Bitcoin keeps going, I'm looking at 20 3/4. Bellerophon, look at that spike, rising wedge, and it's just really, really strong. Targeting 14 and 18. BMEA breaks out, spikes up with a breakaway gap, and pulls back gently on low volume. If it does go again, mid-30s target. 30 and 36 are your targets. CALT breaks out of a base, backs and forth, wedges. Feels like a stock that has energy to 27.5. CBAY, been a steady riser since the November pullback consolidation and breakout. But from that level of 3, it's gone to over 9. My target, 13. ARDX, just last week, started out with a bang. Hold on a moment. You can see the pop, pull back, and pop again. A strong inside engulfing day on Friday. If we get through Wednesday's high, 6 3/4, I would look for 8 and 10. CDMO, nice breakout of a base, pull back wedge retest, form a coil, and pop out. We're at resistance here. Next target, 22.5. Seiko. Stock that's been on our list for a while is at support now, and it's dangerous. If we break here, it could be a topping pattern, and down it goes to 11 or less. Cody has been a beautiful rising channel since October. It's taken it from 6 to more than 12, more than doubled. And it had a tough end of the week with a pullback, so be careful on that one. But if it does resurrect itself and gets back over 12 1/4, you might see 13 or 14. CRBP with an explosive move in March and a pullback retest, and now bouncing off that level. Key support 5 3/4, resistance and target 9 and 11.5. Electronics, big spike low in December and a strong rising channel with a flag in there and then another run up. Your targets are 6 and 7. DNMR breaks out of a base, breaks through declining top line, moving averages cross over. Stock then starts surging. As you can see, pull back Friday and then recover. Target 5 3/4. DRS, big recovery from a dip a week ago, and then look at this comeback. 10 3/4 to 14 and change. Now it looks like new all-time highs ahead of 15 and 16. EBS comes out of a declining channel, pops with volume and forms a wedge. At resistance here. Near-term targets 11.5, 12 3/4, 14. EGO in the gold sector. Looks like it has more to go. Target 12.5, 13. EHTH, another old swing of ours that's working. Beautiful rising channel from 2 3/4 all the way up to over 10. So nearly quadrupled. And now it's consolidating, but it popped recently, now it's flagging. Resistance 10 1/4, you take that out, you're looking at 12 3/4 at 15. ELF just keeps going. It met all my targets along the way. My next target is 95. ELOX with an explosive move last week, now up for 6 days in a row. The last 2 big spikes with volume. Your next resistance target is about 9 and 12. EOSE, beautiful rising channel with a wedge, a pullback, spike, pullback. Your target now 3.5 and 5. Grayscale Ethereum, the bottom with right-hand extension seems to be coming out. I'll target 12 on the next move. ETNB, beautiful rising channel all year, but a pullback here, a very gentle pullback at low volume tells me the possibilities of 18 and 21 or 22 are real. EXEL comes out of a base and continues to extend. I would look for 22, 2.5. EYEN popped out from the wedge and then popped out of the wedge, targeting 5. For solar, looked like it was going to break out. It's a great looking long-term chart, but it's long in the tooth. I don't know if we can make it up to 250. That's my next target, 248.50. If we break out of that flag. Fastly popped out, 3-wave corrected flag, ran up to the target and pull back. Pullback comes on low volume. Next target's 19. FTNT breaks out with a breakaway gap, forms a little consolidation and breaks out of that through multiple tops. Next target, 70.71. FUSN, slow orderly pullback over the last 6 weeks near what looks like a potential trend line, but it's hard to say. The gap was filled a week ago. They need that to hold around 3.5. If it breaks out, retest 5 and go up to 6, 6.5. GANX, nice base, nice breakout. There's your base, breakout, and falling flag right to support. Next targets are 5 3/4 and 6.5. Silver stock Gato breaks out of a long-term base. It's forming a flag, looks higher. To fill that gap, you'd have to get up to 9 and change. GBTC, long-term declining channel, top broken, coiling above the moving averages as they cross over, very bullish pattern. And from that point, about 11, it's run up to 16.5, 17, and it's got a beautiful little pennant. Next target, 17 3/4 and 19. GFAI, well, if you're interested in artificial intelligence stocks that are flying, this one certainly exploded, imploded, held a mid-50 and gap, and then really had a nice engulfing reversal day Friday. Can't tell if it's going to go back to 2025, but those are the targets. GFI in the gold sector breaks out of a base, and now it looks like it's headed to 17. Gravity breaks out of a base and spikes up. It's not a 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th wave, so it's long in the tooth, but it might have momentum to 70. HEAR breaking out of a beautiful base, very similar to Intel pattern. Long-term pattern tells me that a test of 12.5 may be forthcoming, followed by 15. HIM is still running. Now wedging. A breakout here, we might see a retest of the highs near 12.5 and then 14.5. HLIT broke out of its declining falling wedge, held the moving averages, and now is moving up. Had an engulfing bullish day on Friday. Not much though. It needs to get through 15 3/4, then you're looking at 17.5. Halion PLC, this is a new all-time high, post-IPO high, and it's running. I got a target of 9 3/4, 10. HMY, Harmony Gold, also broke out of its base. My target's 5.5. HNRG broke out of a 3-month declining channel and stair stepping its way higher, looking for 10.5, 11 3/4, and 14. One of my favorite stocks of the year at a top 20 pick, Harrow. As you can see, it's gone from the May low of last year around 6 to 23, nearly quadrupling, but it isn't done yet. My target's 29, 9.5. IDCC breaks out of a base, pops in a little flag, and gap, little tight little pennant, and then a long one. Target 82. IFRX with a monster week last week, exploded from under $2 and went up to over 7 and pulled back. This is a swing. I believe it works its way higher. If it gets to 7 1/4, you're looking at $10. HIS 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a wedge. If it goes, your target's 10. IMVT, one of my top 20 picks, has been a slow decline, like many of the biotech since January, but it still looks overall very bullish to me. Target 19 and 20. INDY, well, it broke support last week and it's now secondary support. Any further damage, and it's a stop out. But if it does recover, 11 and 12.5 are your targets. INOD, pop wedge, and pop. There is some key resistance up here at about 9. It gets through that, I'm looking at 11. INTA with a powerful chart, 14 to 45, just in September. Doesn't look done yet. I got a $51 target. INTC, I told you earlier, it looked like a couple other stocks. They broke out of a triple top, triple bottom base after breaking its declining top line. My targets are 34.5, 5, 37.5, 8, and 40. INTT, similar. Strong run up from the October low when it was 7. It's tripled to 21 plus and backed off a little bit, but I'm looking for 26. INZY, popped and broke out wedge and then popped and retested and popped the flag and then broke out. Big engulfing reversal day Friday. Acceleration or momentum target 7 3/4. IONQ popped, pulled back quietly and then broke out. We put a swing on it. It looks very good for a move, I think, to 9 and 11.5. IoT Samsara broke out, falling wedge and popped. Needs to hold it right about here. If it takes this out, I'm looking for 21, 24.5. Iridium in a beautiful rising channel. Should break the core that it's in right now. 65 and 72 are targets. ISEE finally breaks out of the wedge with a gap and sits here and consolidates. Friday was a good day for it, but I'm looking for an extension now to 30, 34. K-Soft took out a base out with some energy and pulled back. Is it an entry up? I need to see this back and fill a little bit and consolidate better. But my next target is 13. KDNY near the apex of a large multi-month coil, and if we can pop and break out, I would look for a retest of 26 and then 30. LSFT, Lifestone stands health, breakout, flag, and breakout. I believe this has enough energy to make a run all the way up to 10 3/4. LMB has been in a beautiful rising channel since August at 5 to 17, but my target is now 22.3. Good momentum. Maxim popped to this consolidation zone, pulled back to test it, and now bounced and formed a wedge. And if it gets out above 29, I'm looking at 33.35. MGNX, 1, 2, 3, 4, about to come out, or it appears like it wants to. Keep an eye on this one next week for a move through 8, then your target's 9.5 and 12. Gaming stocks, Melco, exploded November, December. Been consolidated ever since, but a breakout above 14, 14 and a quarter, I think, looking at 17, 18. Inverse head and shoulders on MYGN, and now a flag. Very bullish. We break through this line, 28 is my target. NAAS with a massive inverse head and shoulders on a explosive move from 4 to 12 3/4. It doesn't look done yet, but it's very overbought. NEO, swing trade that worked when it broke out and ran up to my target. Now it's pulled back, maybe re-entry up. As long as it holds support near the trend line at 14. OCUP broke out of a coil and just went vertical last week from 3.5 to 5.5. Now it's had an inside day Friday at 504. My target's up there at 6 and 7. OPRA, very strong rising channel from a double bottom near 4. It's run up to over 10. The extension target is 12 and 13.5. ORIC came out of a falling wedge and has moved up slowly. I like the overall pattern, but I want to see some energy on it. Not enough volume. Target, however, 6 3/4 and 8. Oscar, big pop, nice flag. Extension target 840, 9 3/4. OSUR, slow but rising channel. If it gets to the next target, it would be 7.5. Pan American Silver, one of my other silver stocks that I like, along with Wheaton and a few others. Right at resistance here, folks, from that gap, these peaks, and this peak here. I move through here, we're looking at 22, 24.5, etc. PACB broke out and pulled back in a flag. Lots of resistance at 12.5, but that's my target. Then I'm looking at 14. PDFS with a nice rising chart. This software application stock doing great. It pulled back Friday, so I may give you a retest down towards 37.8, but eventually 45 is my target. Perion Stellar had been in an uptrend since 5 3/4 when we first mentioned it. It's now over 40 with a target of 45. PESI, powerful explosive move since the end of January, where it was trading at 3 3/4. It tripled to over 12 and backed off a little bit, but my target now is 15. Pixis with an explosive move and then a pullback, a 50% retrace on very low volume indicates to me it may try to snap back. 4 3/4 and 6.5 are targets. Roblox, steady as she goes, holding the channel. If I get to 47.5, 48, 52, and 55 are targets. RCEL breaks out, popped through resistance. Here's where it held at 50. Popped through, retested flag, breakaway gap, ran up, another wedge, and now running up again near 15 from a low of 4 and change in October. Next target is 16. RELY breaks out of a base and running steadily, targeting 18 and 20. Roivant, after 5 waves up, is pulled back. Got a bit of a hit here, but held secondary support. Don't want to see that under 6 1/4. My targets, however, are 9 and 11. RRGB, Red Robin Gourmet, rising channel with a 1, 2, 3. I think 4 and 5 may be coming. Its target is 18, 19. SCLX exploded last Thursday, breaking out of a 2-3 month wedge, and then pulled back, but had a positive consolidation day, inside day, and I'm still looking for more 16 and 18 targets. CYX also exploded with a breakaway gap a week and a half ago, and a run up to my target near 3 3/4. Your next target's 5.5. Sarah prognostics. You can see the pop breakaway gap and a rising flag looking for 5.5, 5.25.5. SOUN popped and pulled back from the wedge. Keep an eye on this one for a move, but the key is it's got to get above 360, and then you're looking at 4 3/4, 5. SQSP out of a base and a little pullback, and then off she goes, targeting 35. SYM and a beautiful rising channel is approaching its all-time high in June, the spike high. That target will be 27 3/4. Takeda Pharmaceuticals breaks out, retests, holds, and goes. Right now, on a longer term basis, I have to say a target would be right about 18. Thread up, day trade, swing trade popped out and pulled back and it's coiling. I just think eventually it pops 3 3/4, 5.5. Turn is one of my top 20 picks for the year, and look at it go. Little flag here, targeting 14 and 17. Technoglass has been on my swing since November, and it keeps going from the 20s to the 40s. Next target, 50. TGTX pops here, breaks out, we put a swing on it. It ran up to the target and pulled back. If it keeps going, 20.5 and 25 might be targets. Stop under 13. UNCY, explosive gap and a beautiful wedge. Keep an eye on this one. Don't let it get under 1.5. I'm looking for a move over 3 to get it to 3 3/4, 4. USAU in the gold sector, big pop, big explosive move and a pullback. Could be an entry out. Next target, 9. VERX breaks out of a base and is running. I got a 22.85 target and then 25. Vista, very strong stock in the junior O group with a target now of 27. Viking, fantastic move, a little bit of a pullback, but I think eventually it gets into low and mid 20s. BRDN back to support, and trend line needs to hold it right there. This is a long-term pick, top 20, but it's had a big pullback after the run up in November, December, and early January, which took it from 17 to 37. So you can see the pullback to 26. It's kind of a good, nice fib retracement. Needs to hold here. BRNA similar, a little bit better looking. It's kind of 1, 2, 3, 4. And yeah, a hold here gets me to retest at 27 and then 32. Wheat and precious metals is the other big silver purveyor. A couple tough days at the end of the week, but my eventual targets mid to high 50s. WVE breaks out of a falling wedge. I put a swing on it. I need to get this one up through and look for a move through 4 3/4. Then I'm looking for 5 3/4 and 7. XPOF in a beautiful rising channel. Doesn't look like it wants to quit either. 33 target. Zixi, I'm concerned about it because even though it broke through the declining top line, having a tough time getting to the declining 50, it does look like a bear flag, so I would put tight stops in that one. And that's a look at all the longs, and there are some shorts to cover. Let's do that and finish up for today. You can see that BILL still looks bad, and this is a bear flag. I'm looking for downside extension. It gets this one eventually down to 50, 52. CF forming a wave 4. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4 bear wedge with a target now at 63. CI rallied back to resistance, but it's a tech trader swing from 300 down to 250. I'm now looking for 240. Clearfield, another bear flag. It looks terrible if it breaks 44. Wouldn't be surprised to see 10 points lower. CPRI, tech trader swing short there. It broke down. Rising flag right to resistance. It broke down again. Next target, I would have to go to 37. DDS looks like a rollover top pattern. This is a bear wedge. That's another bear flag. But there's key resistance support, I should say, 290. We go below that, looking at 260 and 225. Dino is an oil stock that looks bad to me, and I'm telling you right now, if it takes out 44, look out below. 40, 36 targets. Devon Energy is another oil that had a nice rally back after breaking down of the flag. It rolled over from 56 down to 43, so short covering may have fueled it, but I don't know if it's done yet. Same with Equinor. Floor broke down from the bear flag. This one looks like it could be down in the 20s, low 20s soon. Keys, that's a bear coil or flag, whatever, but if it breaks down, 145 and 132 are targets. NFE, Broke a massive top, formed a wedge there, another wedge there. I don't think it's done yet. 22.5 and 19.75 targets. Overstocks continues lower, still looking for 1450. PBH, tech traded swing, ran up a little bit, has a rising wedge. Now, if it fails here, it rolls over. If it doesn't, you're stopping a little bit above where it is. Plexus, down sharply in a bear wedge. After that, another wedge, and it broke down. It did bounce off support, still looking for 85.6, 77.8. ROST, Ross Stores, broke a top, snapped back and failed, came down target, filled the gap, snapped back, and looks like it may have failed again. You take out of 98, and the stock's headed for 90 or 80. 90 or 80. TCX, 2 cows, terrible looking chart. It continues to go lower, just broke a bear flag, and it's getting hammered. I don't know how far down it goes, but I wouldn't be surprised to see low teens. Triton breaks down, forms a bear wedge, fails at the 50, comes down hard and forms another bear flag. You break down over the 59.5, you're in trouble. 53.4 and 48.9. Tech Target is forming yet another bear flag. It looks like it could be a $30 stock soon. Unum broke a top, formed the bear wedge. This is a really good possibility of being 31.2. Vicor, bear coil, target 34. VIR, bear flag, target 20 and 18. And finally, BTLE in the oil sector, formerly Laredo Petroleum, has run up to resistance. If it fails, I'm looking for 38 and 35. Folks, that's an exhaustive look at all the indices, the technicals, the ETFs that we follow closely. A list of longs that look intriguing and some shorts that look pretty bad. Please take a look at this carefully and review it a couple times and be prepared for next week. We're going to need it. Big week ahead of us, in my opinion. HB out. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy your Easter holiday.